Louisiana is famous for Mardi Gras and New Orleans. It's also well known for having a lot of people who practice voodoo, the French Quarter, beautiful buildings, old farms, swamps, and more. Louisiana is also very famous for its hauntings. And in this video we're gonna talk about top 10 the most haunted places in Louisiana. Hi, I'm Alina, welcome to or welcome back to my channel. Established on August 14, 1789, St. Louis Cemetery No. 1 is the oldest of 43 cemeteries built above the ground in New Orleans. The walls of the cemetery look old and are starting to bulge out into the street. There have been a lot of burials there reflecting the city's history of death. These above-ground tombs became popular because the city faced challenges with a high death rate and a high water table. These tombs can hold between 60 to 100 people each. Even today, it's an active cemetery where burials still take place. Marie Laveau, who is considered the voodoo queen, lives in the cemetery. People say her spirit moves around there. She passed away on June 15, 1881. She was buried in St. Louis Cemetery No. 1 in the tomb of her second husband, Christophe Glaupion. Some think she was later moved to other tombs in the city. Nowadays, her tomb is one of the most visited gravesites in the entire United States. People often leave coins, candy, and even tobacco there, hoping that she will grant their wishes. In the early 1900s, a tradition started where people drew 3 X's on her tomb. This began as 3 crosses, but the X's came to represent Papa Legba, a voodoo spirit who opens the way between life and death. However, marking her tomb now is against the law and can lead to a big fine or even a jail time. St. Louis Cemetery No. 1 became a national landmark in 1974 and is now protected by the government. In the 1930s, the Works Progress Administration interviewed older African-American residents in New Orleans. One man named Eugene Lee Banks claimed that he encountered her at the drugstore near the cemetery long after her death. Banks said that she laughed and asked if he recognized her. He looked for the drugstore owner. The man had hidden in a bag, aware of who she was. Marie Laveau then struck Banks, leaped into the air, and vanished over the graveyard wall. Another citizen in the City of the Dead, Paul Murphy, was a very famous chess player. He was born in New Orleans in 1837. When he was a kid, he beat a lot of famous chess players in the United States. He was so good that he went to Europe to play against chess players there and won again. He loved playing chess so much that even when he won prize money, he refused to accept them. When he was only 22 years old, he stopped playing chess because supposedly he got tired of it and didn't like being famous. He tried becoming a lawyer, but everyone was just talking about his chess instead of work. This made him sad and angry, and his mental health started to deteriorate. He didn't like money or even the people who were trying to help him. People even say that once upon a time he was seen running naked with an axe outside of his old house at 1113 Chartres Street. His family tried to take him to the Ursuline nuns across the street. He was only 47 years old when he died of a stroke in his bathtub. Now his old house is a restaurant called Brennan. His grave in St. Louis Cemetery No. 1 has chess pieces on it. People who love chess visit New Orleans to honor him. St. Louis Cemetery No. 1 is one of the many cemeteries above ground in New Orleans. Its sister cemeteries, St. Louis Cemetery No. 2 and 3, also have their own mysteries waiting to be uncovered. Bourbon Street in New Orleans is super popular, especially for parties. It's busier than even the Vegas Strip. During Mardi Gras, people toss beads from upstairs balconies. You can also see the bright green hand grenade drink. There's also a lot of laughter, music, and police horses clopping around. As you walk further from Canal Street, it gets quieter. Near the residential part of Bourbon Street, there is Lafitte Blacksmith Shop and another place named after a pirate. The Lafitte Guest House and Gallery is a lovely building from the 1800s. It's famous because it's both a hotel and an art gallery. People like to stay there because it's a great spot and they can also check out different exhibits. A lot of people believe that this place is also haunted. Before the Lafitte Guest House was built, there used to be a charity hospital on the same land. After the hospital burned down, a basic home was constructed there over time. In 1848, a big mansion replaced the small home that was there before, all thanks to Paul Glees. Many families lived in that tall 3-story home ever since. People who stay at the Lafitte guest house say that they felt or seen strange things. Room 21 in the Lafitte guest house is considered the most haunted room, and nowadays a lot of people ask to stay there. People say that there is a young girl named Marie who haunts this room. Marie was one of the Glees' daughters. When she was about 8 to 10 years old, she got very sick. Yellow fever in New Orleans at the time was a big problem. Many people died from it, especially in 1853 when around 10,000 people died in just 2 months. We don't know for sure if Marie died from yellow fever, but either way she never left 1003 Bourbon Street. People also claim that they've seen her in a mirror near room 21 chatting with kids staying at the hotel. Guests have also heard crying and coughing, and people who stayed in room 21 also say that they felt very sad. Some think it's Marie's ghost who haunts this room, while others believe that it might be something else. The story goes that after Marie died, her mother was so heartbroken that she also died right in room 21, where Marie had died years before. Nowadays, if you want to stay in room 21, you better book it ahead of time because it's always busy with both living and ghostly activity. The rest of Lafitte guest house isn't exactly quiet either. Lights usually flicker on and off throughout the hotel, and things get moved around without anyone knowing why. Sometimes guests can't find their stuff where they left it. Like for example, one person said that they couldn't find their hairbrush even though they swear that they left it in a bathroom. Other times guests come back to their rooms to find all the furniture has been shuffled around. A lot of people also report strange noises, like something is being dragged across the floor in empty room upstairs. Maybe someone is playing tricks with the furniture, or perhaps there is something more mysterious going on. The Hotel Provincial in New Orleans is one of the scariest places there. It's in the French Quarter and has been around since 1725. This hotel is made up of 5 buildings: 100, 200, 300, 400, and 500. These buildings were used for different things. Sometimes those were homes and shops, and at some point this hotel was even the French Market Ice Company. Before building 300 was made, there used to be a garden with healing plants. Those buildings also were used as a hospital during the Civil War. Guests and workers at the Hotel Provincial have had many ghostly experiences. Building number 5 or 500 is believed to be the most haunted. People who stayed in these rooms hoped for a peaceful night, but instead they woke up in the middle of the night seeing soldiers covered in blood and crying out in pain. But when they turned on the lights, the soldiers vanished. Some people also have seen pools of blood appear and disappear on different floors. In some rooms there are blood stains that come and go. 2 soldiers are especially active in a few rooms. They like to play music on the radio, show up visibly, and even make eye contact. People have also seen surgeons walking around the hotel. The Shreveport Municipal Auditorium was built between 1926 and 1929. It's a popular place for concerts, shows, plays, boxing, and special events. Famous singers like Elvis Presley, Hank Williams, and Johnny Cash perform there. The Shreveport Municipal Auditorium is known as a haunted place in northern Louisiana for several reasons. Many people believe that spirits still linger in the auditorium for various reasons. Some say that spirits like to stay where they passed away, like in buildings once used as morgues. The auditorium basement, once a temporary morgue during the Louisiana Hayride performances, may still hold some of the spirits. Places where people felt sad or had bad experiences can make their spirits come back and seek closure. They might hope that this time things turn out differently. For instance, a woman who suffered a lot while giving birth to her baby in a basement bathroom. She might have died, or her baby might not have survived, we don't know for sure, but something sad happened there. People who loved music and performances when they were alive still enjoy them as spirits. Many of them like the music shows that happened in the auditorium. Some might come back to watch more entertainment. The Shreveport Municipal Auditorium is just across from the Oakland Cemetery. Many music and art lovers are buried there. The Bourbon Orleans is a fancy hotel in New Orleans right in the French Quarter. It was built by John Davis in 1817 and first used as the Orleans Ballroom. The Bourbon Orleans Hotel in New Orleans is famous for its hauntings. Over 20 different spirits are said to wander inside the hotel. Some of the spirits are of young girls who died from yellow fever in New Orleans a long time ago. There were also nuns who took care of these girls, and sadly some of them also got sick and passed away. People have also seen ghostly images of these young girls and also strange dark shapes that look like they're praying over them. Guests have also heard laughter and the sound of little feet running around the empty hallways. Room 644 is the most talked about room in the hotel. Some people say that a nun ended her life in that room, but the Holy Family haven't confirmed or denied this rumor. People also report hearing screams and seeing a strange figure before they go to bed. The ballroom at Bourbon Orleans is another popular spot for ghostly encounters. People say that they've seen a woman dancing under the chandeliers. Staff members claim that she hides behind the curtains when she's not dancing, and sometimes she moves them around to surprise guests. No one knows for sure who this woman is, but some people believe that she might have a connection to the hotel's past when it hosted quadroon balls. Perhaps she was someone's secret lover. Originally, Bourbon Orleans was for high society guests only, but now it welcomes people from all backgrounds, even those who don't have physical bodies. The Magnolia Plantation started in the 1700s. A man named Jean-Baptiste Lacombe II owned the land, but he didn't build anything on it until the 1800s. The plantation began operating in 1830, and it changed a lot when Jean-Baptiste's son Ambrose married Julia Bouard. They built 21 main buildings on the land, along with brick cabins and 8 other quarters. Many people lived in these buildings over the years, working as tenant farmers or plantation laborers. It's common to hear stories about strange events and ghost encounters. People also believe that former slaves who lived and worked on a plantation are still around. There's a room on a plantation known as the dying room. It is believed that people went there to die. Another room is thought to be where prisoners poisoned and made a Union general go mad. People claim that they see the distorted face of a man in the window of that room. Mark Twain called Baton Rouge's old state capital a little pretend castle. It was built from 1847 to 1852. People thought it looked really old, like a Gothic castle, even though the building was brand new. The building seemed out of place, and a lot of people didn't like that this building didn't match the southern Louisiana style. The castle has big towers, a huge dome made of colorful glass, and a curved staircase made of iron. The building was once used as a government office until the Civil War. After that, lawmakers left and it became a prison. Later, Union troops stayed there as a base, and when they left, the building was in a bad shape. After it got fixed up in the 1900s, the old capital became Louisiana's Museum of Political History. Inside, you can see a lot of documents, art, and things that tell the story of Louisiana's politics and culture. Both visitors and workers claim that they've seen or felt strange things there. The old state capital is always guarded 24/7. Tom Clark, a security officer, reported a late-night strange experience. A quote, "I've had an experience where I was patrolling the building about 2:15 in the morning, walking across the balcony that's above the House of Representatives, and about halfway across it was like I ran into someone passing. It turned me sideways, unsettled me, and I'm pretty sure that was the last round I made that night." Another time, a maintenance worker was cleaning tables early in the morning after an event. The security guards heard a loud noise. Then a scared employer ran into their office, claiming that someone else was there because they heard footsteps on the balcony. A quote, "When the footsteps reached the end of the balcony, the door leading to the offices slammed, and that's what Officer Mayo and I heard," said Clark. Some people feel like someone is watching them. They've also seen doors opening and closing by themselves. There's also a story about a little girl named Sarah Morgan who presumably haunts the building. She was the daughter of the family that donated the property and lived there during the Civil War. Reportedly, she saw the Capitol building being built, burned down, and then built again. The basement is believed to be the most active. It used to be a hospital and a jail. Some paranormal investigators in the area say that they felt like someone was pushing on their head or patting it. Wanda Porter, who used to guard the castle at night, had to deal with motion sensors going off in rooms like the governor's, the baby's room, and the dining room, even when nobody was there. She found the governor's bed looking like someone had been lying in it. People visiting the castle also reported the smell of cigars. The Myrtles Plantation is the most famous haunted hotel in Louisiana. It was constructed in 1796 by General David Whiskey Dave Bradford, who named it Laurel Grove at first. Bradford resided there alone until his wife Elizabeth relocated from Pennsylvania to live with him. The plantation had different owners over the years. Bradford's daughter Sarah Mathilda and her husband Clark Woodruff took over in 1808 when her father passed away. They owned it until 1851 when Ruffin Gray Sterling and his wife bought it. They made big changes, almost doubling its original size. After Sterling died in 1854, the plantation changed hands many times. Nowadays, the Myrtle Plantation is a popular bed and breakfast. It's famous for its great service and also for being one of the most haunted plantations in the US. The stories about the plantation's strange happenings have become so famous that they have been featured in TV shows, books, and movies. Many people, including teams from the Sci-Fi Channel and the Taos team, have visited the plantation to investigate these claims of paranormal activity. Some of the reported incidents include sightings of 2 murdered children and Chloe, a servant who was harmed for allegedly poisoning a cake that Clark Woodruff's family ate and died. People have also claimed to hear the footsteps of William Drew Winter, a lawyer who once lived on the plantation and was murdered there. Additionally, the grand piano has been said to play a song on its own. Just outside of New Orleans, you'll find Manchac Swamp. It's a pretty place with lots of greenery and tall cypress trees. You can spend a whole day here enjoying the scenery, and it's also a great place to spot a wildlife such as alligators, turtles, and birds. Locals and tourists love to visit this place. There are also tours available to explore the swamp by boat or kayak. Many people think that this swamp is haunted, adding a spooky twist to its beauty. The Manchac Swamp is said to be visited by the spirit of Julia Brown. She was also known as Julia White and was a local voodoo leader living in a small town called Frenier around the early 1900s. She used to sing a song on her porch saying that she'd take the whole town with her when she died. Then in 1915, a big storm hit and destroyed Frenier and nearby towns, killing over 50 people. Some think Brown caused the storm because she kept her promise. Either way, when you visit, it's wise to be careful just in case. For nearly 200 years, people talked about strange things happening in the LaLaurie mansion. Many people say that it's haunted by the ghosts of the slaves who used to live here when Madame Delphine LaLaurie owned this place. There is a special room in that mansion where slaves were kept, and people often hear moaning sounds coming from that room. Sometimes you can also hear footsteps even when no one is there, and people claim to feel negative energy even outside the house. Even though there are a lot of stories about strange events at the LaLaurie house, not all of them are because of Madame LaLaurie mistreating slaves. In 1894, a person living in an apartment in the LaLaurie mansion was murdered in their room. Their things were thrown around the room like someone was searching for something. Police thought it was a robbery, but nothing valuable was taken. During interviews, a friend mentioned that this person also believed there was a demon in the house that wouldn't leave until they died, which sadly happened. The LaLaurie mansion also used to be a school in the mid-1800s. 1800s. It was one of the few schools in New Orleans that had boys and girls together. But then things changed during the Reconstruction era. The school at 1140 Royal Street became a girls-only school for African American kids. After a while, there were reports of girls getting hurt. They would go to their teachers with scratches and bruises on their arms crying. After asked who did it, they all said that woman. No one thought that these girls would know about Madame Delphine's story from years ago. So people wonder if these girls were playing tricks or if a ghost was actually hurting them. Louisiana is full of haunted history, and there are for sure many more stories to uncover. Write in the comments down below what you want me to talk about next. Thank you for watching, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!